Spectrum Cable TV channel 1303 and stream simultaneously on the Town of Bucksport's YouTube channel. A couple housekeeping items that I traditionally provide. This is a great time to make sure your electronic devices are silent so I don't sneer at you if it goes off in the middle of the meeting. If you are going to speak this evening, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and I will remind you that there are microphones throughout the room. If you whisper to the person next to you, the people at home watching are probably going to hear what you say. Roll call. Kelly.
Deputy Mayor Eastman.
Here.
Councillor Tarian.
Here.
Councillor Hare. Here. Mayor Bissonnette.
Here.
Councillor Rabs.
Here.
Councillor Doty.
Here.
Councillor Rankin.
Here.
Thank you. Right out of the gate, we have a presentation. Under presentations and town council recognitions, we have a presentation from Municipal Waste Hub. We have Michael Carroll, the executive director here. Hello, sir.
How you doing? Sounds like I might have missed all the trash talk already. So, thank you everybody for having me here tonight. As mentioned, my name is Michael Carroll. I'm the executive director for Municipal Waste Hub, formerly known as the MRC. So I kind of just have a high-level overview for you tonight, a few slides, and then I'll just answer any questions you might have. Municipal Waste Hub is a Maine nonprofit organization dedicated to ensuring affordable, long-term, and environmentally sound disposal of municipal solid waste for our members. We serve municipality, refuse disposal districts, public waste disposal corporations, and other public identities throughout central and eastern Maine, managing waste generated by household, businesses, and institutions. This past April, we changed our name from Municipal Review Committee to Municipal Waste Hub. The name wasn't chosen lightly. Waste Hub perfectly captures who we are and what we do, stewarding the municipal solid waste for 115 Maine communities. By processing our waste collectively, we achieve greater efficiency and productivity than any single community could accomplish alone. One voice, 115 members strong. We were established in 1992 due to the financial struggles at the former PERC Waste to Energy facility in Orrington, which had just started operations. The municipalities pooled their waste together and became the minority owner in the PERC, which then made the facility profitable. In return, Waste Hub members received long-term contracts at fixed rates. 25 years later, with waste contracts expiring, waste to energy purchasing rates declining, and Maine mandating a 50% waste reduction, it was time for our organization to make a change. In 2017, construction began on a brand new state-of-the-art waste processing facility in Hamden operated by Coastal Resources of Maine. Coastal built an $85 million facility, then faced struggles during construction and permitting. Coastal operated the facility at full capacity for 7 months before closing due to funding shortfalls. In 2023, Municipal Waste Hub purchased the Coastal facility from the bondholders for $1.5 million. That same year, we partnered with Innovative Resource Recovery and renamed the Hamden facility Municipal Waste Solutions, MWS. Innovative is the majority owner at 90%, with Municipal Waste Hub retaining 10% ownership. This 10% guaranteed Waste Hub a seat at the MWS board and oversight of the facility operations this time around, which we did not have with the previous owner. After a lengthy solicitation due diligence period, we chose to work with Innovative, a multi-billion-dollar asset management firm that provides significant financial capacity. No borrowing of funds or seeking investors were needed before capital investments are made into the Hamden facility. Innovative brings a strong, credible team with backgrounds in engineering, environmental services, long-haul waste operations, finance, and recycle operations. This includes traditional recycle as well as food waste diversion and mixed waste processing. We are just wrapping up construction at Municipal Waste Solutions. Innovative has deployed over $20 million over the last year, with a little over $12 million allocated to the front-end material recovery facility known as a MRF. The MRF is where all the waste is sorted and recyclables are separated. In April, of last year, we reopened the facility as a transfer station, marking the beginning of the ramp up to full operations. We are on track to achieve full operations on the front end of the facility, which uses advanced screening and optical sorting to separate recyclables, including cardboard, plastic, and metals. Glass and grit will be repurposed for cover and drainage. Over the past year, we conducted thorough review and characteristics of all the incoming waste. The critical study helped us identify how to improve waste separation at the source, ensuring that materials arriving at MWS are not contaminated with problematic items like tires, lithium batteries, mattresses, and bulky waste. Phase 2 of the operation, this represents a much larger investment. We're expanding the anaerobic digestion capacity at the facility by 6 million gallons, coming online at the end of 2026, possibly the start of 27, to process all organics and pulp fiber into natural gas. The facility was built on the Lawrence Pipeline and already has connectivity to it. Something truly exciting is our hub and spoke model that will revolutionize waste in Maine. Municipal Waste Solutions has identified strategically located member transfer stations that will serve as regional spokes connected to our central hub at the Hamden facility. All will operate under the Municipal Waste Solutions banner. The hub and spoke infrastructure will allow us to offer a much wider range of services for virtually all types of waste and recyclables, with enabling us to optimize truckloads and logistics. With the model, we can efficiently transport and process recyclable, construction and demolition, waste, bulky items, tires, and much more, creating truly comprehensive waste management solution. Perhaps our most significant spoke development was the acquisition of the former J Mill disposal site, which Municipal Waste Hub secured at zero cost just last year. We rebranded as Jayco. The Jayco property includes an existing wastewater treatment facility, which presents exciting possibilities. We plan to utilize the site as one of our spoke locations to effectively direct waste and recycling to the Hamden, but also use it for our own construction and demolition debris disposal. Jayco came complete with all the necessary closure funds for proper maintenance and site closure when needed, and we will not accept any out-of-state waste. Our experienced partner will handle the day-to-day operations and liabilities, ensuring professional management. Transportation Division. To implement hub and spoke, our partner Innovative Resource Recovery has added a dedicated transportation division to the Hamden operation, which is a genuine game changer. They have acquired an impressive fleet of 10 trucks and 15 live floor trailers. This significant investment in rolling stock will work seamlessly to connect the Hamden hub with member transfer stations throughout our network, efficiently and economically moving waste and recyclables. Beyond operational advantages, the hub and spoke transportation solution creates valuable synergies among members by significantly reducing our collective carbon footprint through optimizing routing and full capacity loads. And our scholarship program. This is our first year we announced awarding up to $10,000 in scholarship to all of our members for seniors or people in first year of secondary education. The deadline for that is this April 13th, and we'll be awarding those on April 23rd. Over the past year, while the Hamden facility, Municipal Waste Solutions, has been in excellent hands with Innovative Resource Recovery working towards restart, the Municipal Waste Health team has been extraordinarily busy. We visited all our member communities, created focused discussion groups, conducted member surveys, and performed thorough due diligence. The feedback was consistent and clear. Members wanted improved transportation solutions, more accessible collection points to increase recycling, decrease tip rates, and disposal of all types of waste beyond municipal solid waste in ways that are both environmentally sound and economical. Well, we listened and we've executed on all their recommendations. The developments I've shared with you today are a direct result of the community input and our communication to meeting their needs. We've always prioritized transparency with our members. We believe in keeping them informed and involved every step of the way, involving and improving. We've also dedicated a lot of funds this year into education and outreach. We've created posters for all of our transfer stations of the do's and don'ts of what to put in the waste. And then we've created Scotty, who is a character who's doing several videos in a series that we use on our community website pages and in schools. And I just have a short video to play here. Don't know how loud it's gonna be.
Municipal Waste Hub equates to more than just trash and blue bins. But what does Waste Hub mean? It means we enable your town to meet Maine's 50% recycling goal. The plant we use takes your waste in, sorted or unsorted, and extracts recyclable products. Regardless of where you place your trash, the right thing will be done with it. No need to separate at home. We take metal, plastics, glass, paper, and cardboard. Anaerobic digestion turns organic waste into natural gas. This is how Waste Hub and its over 100 member towns and cities in Maine meets the state's 50% recycling goal. Municipal Waste Hub. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Municipal Waste Hub.
To summarize, we've rebranded Municipal Waste Hub to better reflect our mission. We've reopened the Hamden facility as a transfer station last year, and over the next several weeks, we'll ramp up to sorting and baling operations of recyclable materials, reaching full MRF commercial operations by mid-April of this year. We are implementing an innovative hub and spoke model with dedicated transportation solutions, and we're developing public outreach and education materials. These developments position Municipal Waste Hub to serve you better than ever with greater efficiency, expanded service, and continued commitment to environmental responsibility. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your time tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
Wow, this is a lot easier than the hauler.
Several. Thought you were getting, no, just a
No.
couple quick ones.
Don White's got a question.
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, yeah.
I didn't know if you saw it.
No, so really quickly, what, mid-April, what's happening
So
mid-April? Like,
this piece right here,
Yep.
this is a trommel. And this, so what we changed on the MRF was 3 major components. This was one of them. This just showed up today and it's twice as long. That was installed today. We will start, everything's ready to turn on. We will start doing dry runs next week. Everything's just been sitting idle, so it shouldn't be like dialing in like a brand new facility that could take several weeks to months. Hopefully we can tweak everything and start loading it with waste within the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Will you be considering the plant at full operation at that point?
Yeah, right now we bring in 300 ton a day.
Mhm.
The hopes is to get all 300 ton through it, but it's to run everything through. Our average is 400 ton. We are still bypassing our communities that are down by Crossroads, but we're not bypassing anything within the general area of the facility.
Okay,
Anything that would have to go to JRL comes to the facility.
all right. You mentioned, let me ask this a different way. What's the actual commitment that right now from Waste Hub on out-of-state waste?
We are not allowed to take any. Permit does not allow it. 2 things I think are
That's
very
what I wanted to
important.
hear. Permit.
We have to meet 50% reduction. Our permit requires it. Our permit does not allow us to take any out-of-state waste.
Okay. What else? Mr. White? Or,
Let's go with
Okay.
Don first. And
I got it. Thank you.
I have a couple questions, but
All
let's
right.
get Don.
Mr. Carroll, how you doing?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Good.
This technology, where's it operating?
So there's no new technology anymore like the other owner had. MRFs are all over the place, Massachusetts, New
you.
Hampshire, and anaerobic digesters are all over the place. The one thing you'll know about our investor, they won't take any technology risk. They have to see it operate, touch it, and feel it.
So it's working.
Yes,
Okay. Do you take all glass?
yes,
All glass.
all
Okay.
glass.
You take all cans,
Yes,
all paper,
yes,
all cardboard,
yes.
all tires,
No, tires is unacceptable waste.
all,
Tires is not MSW.
all organics,
Yes,
all plastics,
yes,
and the natural gas that we will produce
Yes.
from your organics and your pulp.
pulp fiber, yes.
Where does that go?
That goes right back down the pipeline. I would love to say our facility's set up to reuse it, but it's so much more profitable, sell it back
You
down
will
the
sell it,
pipeline.
okay.
Then we use it.
Thank you.
And I can answer one of your other questions that you asked earlier. Your waste, Bucksport Waste is contracted with us, so it can't go anywhere else. We have a contract that, I hate to use the word that ties it up, but it's contracted us until like 2038.
Yeah.
So it's not like it can just go anywhere else.
And what you can't recycle, where's that gonna go?
That, our contract is with Crossroads.
Thank you.
Everything that we do, the residual has to go to Crossroads.
How long is that contract for?
The same term about that, so that contract's 10 or 12 years. I don't know exactly,
Thank you
but
so much.
Anyone else from,
So-
hang on just a second, anyone else from the public? Mr. Chapman?
Yes, relative to out-of-state waste, the problem has been over the years that the definition changes, so that out-of-state waste comes in, is minimally processed in some fashion.
You're absolutely
and it's not called out-of-state waste anymore. So when you say that you're not taking any out-of-state waste, is that the same as you are only taking Maine-sourced waste, or does that mean that all the loopholes that have been worked out through the legislature are still there and you're stuck with them?
no, the loopholes don't. So we're municipal, so the loopholes don't really come to us. What you're talking about is, for years, what happened is we would send people would send recycling up from out of state. It's the same thing that happened in China. And then that would get dumped on a recycling floor. That is now a residual of the recycling center. Okay, I'm MSW. That's all I am is MSW. So everything that comes to me has to be MSW from municipal or the state. But what you're referring to was from recycling centers and other processors, but it was not MSW.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Councilor Abs?
So, the Casella person, Jim, that was here earlier, that's about collection. And then he made a comment that Bucksport to decide the destination of where that MSW. So you would be the destination. We are signed up as one of the 115
Yes.
communities. So it's, okay, so I'm just trying to,
When it comes to trash, there's always two contracts, hauler and processor.
right, and I just wanted to get the idea where everything fit in here. And just as a matter of curiosity, because Don and I, 10 years ago, back in the day, were Merck and Perk and all this other neat stuff going on, and we both agreed that, I don't know if it's gonna, but anyway, there's no do-overs, and that's what happened. But just out of curiosity, in Orrington, are they in fact gonna fire back up and generate electricity out of that plant eventually, or unknown at this time? Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Anyone else from, I don't wanna make sure I don't miss anyone.
Appreciate you coming.
Mr. Mott,
Um,
please come up to the podium. I shouldn't have let Mr. Chapman get away with it.
This question is curiosity, but also my ignorance. In the previous plant at Hamden, there was a need to balance in some trade-off. The demo that was coming in was overriding the amount that you had to mix in it to process. I'm talking building demo. Are
We
you
don't
taking,
accept building
that's
Yeah.
a question answered, thank you.
We will at the J site, so that's all part of our hub and spokes, is we wanna be able to offer.
I have one more question before you leave tonight, and on your three key bullets up there, you had working from what you had scholarship, and then above that you had transportation. Would any of that change with the town of Bucksport as we have would you? Never mind, I think I just.
I can explain just to go, so there's so we looked at this plan on one leg. What we are trying to do and our investors trying to do is make a tripod or a table. It's so much more economical because at the end of the day, we have to look out for our members and keep an affordable tip rate. But the plant always has to be economical to exist and process your trash. So what we did is we added transportation. So we have a residual that we have to haul down the Crossroads. So now on our way back though, we're picking up transfer stations that can accommodate live floors or have large 50-yard roll-off cans. We're going in under the banner and we're actually taking over the operations of transfer stations in strategic areas so we can use them as collection points for tires, mattresses, grinding of debris,
and we're putting our trucks and trailers there. We're actually hauling for some transfer stations their trailers so that they can get rid of their day cabs and make it more economical. There's a lot of opportunities with transportation, that's why we added it.
Are you looking to do any of that here?
If there's a need, absolutely. So, live floor trailers are very expensive to maintain, especially if you only have a couple of them. They're just, and they're hard to get sometimes depending on where the market is.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Carroll, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, I appreciate it. I'll just leave this up here.
Next, we have consideration of minutes from previous meetings. First is the Infrastructure and Properties Committee meeting from March 12th. It's included in your packet. I'll assume everyone's had a chance to review that. Any questions?
Just on these, it's probably been there before, I just didn't notice it, but it shows roll call as the whole council. Is that fine, or
It's a fair question. Should be the committee members.
not that it matters, but
Is it because we were all here?
Yeah,
Okay. That's
what I
probably-
figured.
more than
yeah.
likely. Yep.
So, yeah, okay. I don't think we need to adjust them because we were all here. We should state that. Okay. All right. How the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve?
second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Also from March the 12th, our Finance and Investments Committee meeting. Questions? Council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And lastly, our council meeting from March the 12th as well. Any questions? How the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. We have, under reports, documents, and correspondence, we have a report from the Services Committee meeting earlier this evening, and that is Councilor Rankin.
Yeah, we met with a gentleman from Casella, and he went through a basic rundown of information we've received, mostly from Manager Grant. And there's a lot of variables in it, lots to talk about, but we've recommended that it come to council for further discussion. And we also recommend the recommendation on Resolve 2026-113, approving annual town appointments.
I can only hope to read that list of names as well as you did. Any questions for Councilor Rankin? Thank you. Unless something has changed in the last few minutes, we have no discussion items, we have no public hearings, and we have no new ordinances to consider. We do have 3 agenda items. The first is Resolve 2026-111, which is approving the transfer of forfeiture assets totaling $1,175 to the Development Forfeiture Reserve. That information was included in your packet. Any questions? Anything you'd like to-
No, this is just more or less a housekeeping item. It's a case that our police department was heavily involved in, and prior to receiving that money, the council is technically supposed to approve that transfer.
Wonderful. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Questions? All's in favor? Opposed? Resolve 2026-112 is approving the transfer of forfeiture assets.
Motion to approve.
Second, but just a question of, is this one?
Two separate cases. The first one that you just approved, it was an investigation where we seized cash. I believe this one here is a firearm,
Just the single firearm?
single firearm, 2 defendants, 1 firearm. They were in a vehicle together.
And where this is a forfeiture asset, what do we do with it?
2 options. We could sell it and get the proceeds of the sale. It's probably $200 or $300 firearm. If it's not that valuable and we can't sell it, the other option is destroying it. Yep.
Good, thank you.
How would the council like to proceed?
We got a motion.
Oh, we did that, didn't we? I even wrote it down. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And now the part of the agenda I've been looking forward to all evening, which is approving annual town appointments. If you'll bear with me briefly, I have a list of names that Councilor Rankin had to read at our committee meeting earlier that I shall read as well. So up for discussion this evening for 2026 committee appointments, we have for building official, Luke Chiavelli, term to expire, all of these terms that I'm about to mention until we get to the election clerks. Nope, I'm lying. Some of them expire, so I'll call them out individually. This term expires March 31st, 2027. Code Enforcement Officer Luke Chiavelli, also March 31st, 2027. Licensed Plumbing Inspector Luke Chiavelli, March 31st, 2027. Local Health Officer Luke Chiavelli, March 31st, 2027. Street Naming and Numbering Coordinator Luke Chiavelli, March 31st, 2027. Harbor Master Michael Ormsby, March 31st, 2027. Deputy Harbor Master Jessica Ormsby, March 31st, 2027. At present, our tax assessor position is vacant. Board of Assessment Review, we have 2 vacancies on that, and we have John Corrigan. That term, all 3 terms would expire March the 31st of 2029. On the Cemetery Committee, we have Jennifer Tarian, March 31st, 2027. Christopher Johnson, March 31st, 2027. Linda Moore, March 31st, 2027. Stephen St. Peter Jr., March 31st, 2027. And Lawrence Wall, March 31st, 2027. On the Climate Resilience Committee, we have Tracy Hare, March 31st, 2027. Ralph Chapman, March 31st, 2027. Emily Fitzgerald, March 31st, 2027. Stephen St. Peter Jr., March 31st, 2027. Rich Rotella, March 31st, 2027. Suzanne DePhillips, March 31st, 2027. Christopher Johnson, March 31st, 2027. And Peter Fitzgerald, March 31st, 2027. Conservation Commission, Karen Johnson, March 31st, 2029, and Candace Spalding, also March 31st, 2029. On the Parks and Recreation Committee, we have 2 vacancies. One, the term expires March 31st of 2027, and the other March 31st of 2031. We also have David Winchester, March 31st, 2031, and William Foster, March 31st, 2031. On the Planning Board, we have Max Corwin, whose term will expire March 31st, 2029. Trish Arcaro, also March 31st, 2029. And last but certainly not least, the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have 2 vacancies at the present. Both of those terms would expire March the 31st, 2031. As the town manager stated in our committee meeting earlier this evening, if you have interest in any of those vacancies that are listed here, you can reach out to the town office and receive any information on those. We also have the 2026 official notice of nominated and appointed election clerks. In the Democratic Party, we have Donna Smith, Marcia Monk, Amy Lozier, Deborah Mott, forgive me if I mispronounce that name, Kathleen Neslucin, Patricia Rowley, and Twyla Tomlin. From the Republican Party, we have Melissa Osborne, Jacqueline Hunt, Linda Plord, Cassie Allison, Jennifer Chiavelli, and Judith Finley. Unenrolled, Janet Boyle, Roxanne Clapper, Deborah St. Louis, David St. Louis, and Barbara Ashe. Pardon me for a moment. Okay. Any questions on any of those? It is okay for councilors to vote for themselves, correct? There's no need for any abstentions on any of these that I'm aware of. Okay. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Let's move and second it. Do we have any questions?
Just a point of information that anything that the council is listed here, you've technically are either an ex officio member or the council has already appointed them to that position at your first meeting in January. So those are more or less there for informational purposes, like the Cemetery Committee and the Parks and Recreation Committee with Councilor Doty. So just wanted to point that out there.
Thank you. Anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Town Manager's Report. Jacob.
Yes, good evening. I plan to present a recommendation for the vacant tax assessor position for the council's consideration at your next town council meeting. The formerly vacant Sprague North Industrial, what's referred to as the Coal Pocket property, has been purchased by Dysart Realty Company, as I'm sure you've all seen in the news. While no specific development plans have been announced or that we are aware of, the site's deep water access presents certainly potential. A recent lease modification application also suggests that the deteriorated pier could be reconstructed. Alongside the pending federal review aimed at restoring the freight rail line to Bangor, this change in ownership marks the end of the property's long vacancy and introduces new potential for future industrial activity at the site. And I want to clarify that, to the town's knowledge, the sale of that property and the recent interest in rail service, to our knowledge, is not connected. I just want to make that clear. We received an update from Tractor Supply today. The company has been working with its general contractor to better align construction costs. Minor site modifications have been made to reduce earthwork and overall expenses, and these revisions are currently in the final stages of internal review. Once approved, the company will coordinate next steps with the town, and they anticipate reaching out within the next few weeks. Staff have been evaluating long-term options for the animal shelter and have developed what I believe is a good solution to address cat capacity issues. This approach would utilize existing town facilities and require little to no additional funding while providing a sustainable option for a number of years to come. And I am requesting an Infrastructure and Properties Committee meeting prior to the next council meeting to discuss that plan. And lastly, staff have been working on another round of fee schedule updates, and we plan to present those the next council meeting. Those would be geared more towards the transfer station side of things. Last time you focused kind of on the code enforcement part of the fee schedule. And this will require a Finance and Investment Committee meeting in advance as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the town manager? All right. Discussion of items not on the agenda for the council and public. We'll begin with the public this evening. Mr. Mott.
I just have, being from away, I have no idea. I kind of looked at the town border. Is, I guess, the now Dysart, I'll get it together, Realty. Are those sites within the town limits? Or are they just outside?
They're in town. They're slightly outside of, I would say, the downtown area.
Oh, yeah, no, I meant the.
Do you know where Donna Smith lives?
I do not.
Oh, okay. All right.
So just north of the old mill site.
Okay.
If you head past into the
I
entrance
just-
to the old landfill, on the other side of the road
Yeah.
though, but down in behind there.
There's
along the
that
water.
significant cove right there.
That's right.
Okay, I just tried to look at the town border map, and its resolution is like 3 pixels, so it was very hard to figure out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, Michelle Rhodes. Can I ask for an update on where we are on money raised for the new animal shelter?
I believe right now it's $40,000, $42,000.
42,000. So we're almost there, 690. And how much the town will be contributing?
Hasn't been determined. What's been approved by the council is for it to be fully funded by fundraising. There's been
Okay.
no commitment made by the town as far
Okay.
as tax dollars.
All right, thank you.
There's a fundraiser Sunday.
There have been many.
There's one Sunday.
Anyone else? Mr. White.
I'm still Don White, I still live on the town farm, but I still pay
No
my
matter how
tax.
hard you try.
Question to the Services Committee. Well, this whole idea of trash pickup is still being still well in the works. I mean, it's not, there's been no decision about transfer station. This is just exploratory stuff at this point, correct?
Yes.
The presentation by Casella tonight, and not the local people, Mr. Bowden, is that a decision because of low bidding, or what was that? Is that an exclusive, is the low bidder always the favored one, given perhaps some complications that could be raised here?
Generally, Mr. White, that has been past practice, is that it's low bidder, but that does not mean that the town council can
Yeah.
entertain the other
Sure.
bid as well.
I've also heard the council talk about preference for local people at times too, okay? Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Council? All right. Thank you, everyone. Committee assignments and scheduling before we move into budget. I heard that we need, prior to the next meeting, an infrastructure committee meeting as well as finance. Well, do we want to do, how long do you think you'll need for infrastructure?
Probably a half an hour for both.
Okay, so 6 PM and 6:30 work? for
Because
everyone?
finance would be your quarterly finance meeting also.
Okay.
Did you say 6:30?
6:30 finance and 6 PM infrastructure, does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Is half an hour enough for finance?
I think so.
Thank you. Next item is budget review. First item on the agenda under budget review is streets and ways, which is general highways and town garage.
So one of my staff helped get the screen up, please.
What was the date on that meeting?
It's before the next council meeting.
The 9th is the next council, well, the second you'll hear from community social agencies, so the 9th is the full council.
We'll wait just a second.
Jacob, do you want the keyboard and mouse or no?
Kelly will take the mouse, if she would, and then you just gotta get the budget book up here.
What is it?
Oh, thank you.
On the screen itself? Oh, there you go. Source, three dots. I see 2 dots. Source, there you go.
Technology is wonderful when it works.
The opposite way, it doesn't. Okay.
Starting with general highways tonight, which is on page 63. Right on the bottom left, Rich.
There you go. Budget presentation or the combined?
Yep. If you can make it full screen, on the right. Right down,
Right down.
up, right there.
That thing?
Yep. Full screen mode.
Yes, sir.
63.
63, Kelly. And Public Works Director Lanfer is going to present the general highways budget.
Well,
been a few changes, things have moved around to different categories in this budget, but for the most part, let's see. Line number one, the small increases, that just reflects the COLA increase, and we have 3 employees with step increases this year, which makes that change there. We've modified the overtime line to closer reflect what we've used in the past couple of years. So that small change there. Clothing allowance has changed down, 12.5%. That has to do with losing 1 employee this past year, moving to the facilities position. So that's why that's changed. Dues and travel, we've realized that slightly less is needed for that. That's a very small change. 0 change for the training costs. That training costs, that covers our normal annual trainings, as well as it pays for, we have to do DOT drug tests for all of our drivers that have licenses at the garage. What was on next? Office supplies. We lowered that slightly to reflect usage. Small equipment purchase, that we held the same. That includes all kinds of hand tools and safety equipment and replacing of anything that, say, if you need a chainsaw or whatnot, that will help replace all those things. Now, moving on to equipment rental. Big change there. We have adjusted where the different things that used to be covered by equipment rental, like our Route 46 contract used to be under that line, equipment rental. That was just past practice. Now we've got a new category for that. Now it's basically reflecting the rentals we have, which we rent equipment such as a stump grinder a couple times a year for trees that we cut on front of people's properties. The mulcher unit we use in the ditch lines and stuff sometimes, and other miscellaneous small things. But the big change there is the contract for Route 46 has been removed to a different line. Equipment parts repair, that we are holding the line on, that has been sufficient for several years. Telephone cost, that is cell phones, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
We have 2 of those at the department. Vehicle fuel is adjusted for usage. Those are actual numbers, real numbers. Contracted services, that's where we've moved the 46 contract to. That and the monies we use annually for the roadside mowing and for painting of the lines downtown. Annually we do that, and crosswalks and all of that. Miscellaneous is just that we pay occasional fees and whatnot that come up for different things. Gravel and sand, we've held the line on that. Those have worked sufficient for the last couple of years. The need seems to be the same for that. Street signs. No. Oh, winter salt. Winter salt, that number has actually gone up because we're trying to reflect the actual usage that we have had to do the last 2 years in a row. And it seems to be consistent that it's been higher. We've had more storms than the previous couple of years before that. And it seems to follow the pattern per storm. That's about how much it's going up. Street signs, that we've held the line. Culverts and drains, we held the same. That covers any driveway culverts or cross pipes and whatnot that we have to repair. Guardrails we've removed. We've had a line in the budget for a long time for guardrails. It hasn't been enough to really fund any significant amount of guardrail repair for the amount we've had in there, so we've removed that from the budget, and we'll tackle it. Would be a capital improvement issue if we have to do a big guardrail project in the future. So we removed that. Pavement, streets and roads, that is moved off of the operating side, and that's going to be on the capital improvement budget moving forward from here. Plants removals, we've adjusted that. That used to include some of the work we did with rentals, the stump grinding and whatever, but it was actual contract type things. So we've removed some of that money and moved it to the line that it more reflects the actual usage. And pavement, sidewalks, we adjusted that down slightly to reflect past usage. Is there any questions about that?
Couple questions. Where, outside of the village, where they mow the side of the road, what line item is that still in here?
Yeah, so that's
You know,
For the
tractor
outback
and-
roads, yeah, that is under the contracted services.
Curbside,
Okay,
mowing roadside.
Yep, roadside mowing.
okay. Then, item number 92 and 93, under the budget, I know I'm a broken record on this, but the cost of the product put down on the road versus, I look at item number 92 on page 66, and the cost comes in at $9, I don't know if that's $9 a yard, $9 a ton, or whatever for sand, versus the $70 per ton or yard, whatever, for winter salt. I mean, it's becoming a lot of money, Jay, $210,000 for,
Yep.
and my point being, the town of Penobscot, Orland, Orrington, they all use sand. I'm not saying they do that, you know, they probably mix some salt out there on intersections or whatever, but, and I get the idea, it's, you can store more product versus sand, number of trips, dump truck loads, blah, 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 but in the end, it's
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
I agree. It's far more per ton or per yard for the materials, but it's a small part of the picture when you have to figure in all the labor that's involved in the salt is a delivered price. The sand, we have to haul all that, and we have to haul that in, then we have to haul it again and replenish the building because the building doesn't hold enough to do the whole town for the season. So we have to replenish during the season. Then you have all the issues with all the sand that you put downtown. Where does it go? It goes in the basins. So then we have months of basin work, of
Well,
labor.
Well, I live out of town and I see all the sand go off to the side instead of having to buy it and put it down.
Yes, right, and that's a real thing, but
Yeah.
it's months of man hours.
Yeah,
to
I'm
do
just
all
wondering
that,
if
so-
there's been any reevaluation. I know it goes back a long way in the history and so forth, but whether we're keeping up, because boy,
We have the
that's a real-
technology to do it.
Yeah.
It's, in my opinion, it's not the best product for your dollar.
Okay. That's all I had, thank you.
Yep.
Just a couple questions. How are we looking on salt and sand this year in terms of?
We are pretty close to this number that we're proposing right now. We are, the other day, the storm we had, we were at 32 events for the season that we've responded to. Big, small, rain, ice, snow, all mixed, but 32 events. That's the exact number we had last year on April 9th. So we were there a couple of weeks ahead of what we were at on the 9th of April this past season. So it seems to be a consistent number of storms. I mean, I'd like to be able to budget and know exactly,
I know.
you know.
Get out the crystal ball and.
Yeah, but that's where we're at, we're consistent with what we did the year before, and that's why we've adjusted the numbers slightly, because it's higher than what we had budgeted.
And this, I know we're trying to talk about real numbers, and I know we've moved for better visibility. For example, the contracted services, and we've moved paving out of this budget as reflected in line 97. But if you take all that accounting out of it and look at it, it looks like this budget would be up about 3.5%.
I believe so.
Okay, it's just backing the napkin. But I want slide sheet and that calculation. Okay, I just wanted to. Any other questions for Jay?
I have a comment from
Please.
the public, if I can read it. This
Please.
is from Emily Fitzgerald. I'd like to know regarding the comments about salt and sand that Bucksport remains some of the only safe roads in the area. Often when you cross town lines outside of state roads, the roads are significantly more dangerous because there is no salt mixed with the sand. This requires more work from emergency services, which is also a cost. So, just email I just received.
Thank you. I will open the floor up to the public for Jay. I'll just let him get through all of his budgets and then we'll do that if there are any questions. But you're free to move on, Jay. Thank you.
Yes. What page is?
Town garage.
Town garage. Town garage building supplies. That includes our drinking water, that includes our all shop supplies, hardware and small odds and ends, and our fire extinguisher inspections annually is what we have slated for that. Line 39, building maintenance repairs, lowered that to reflect what we'd used in the past. That includes all the maintenance on the systems, the heating and the garage doors and plumbing and whatnot. Telephone, internet for the garage, that we kept, that is the same. And heating oil we raised. Is that reflecting increase in price?
Increase in gallons.
Gallons, actual usage is why that number is higher. And electricity, that, not sure, is that because of the solar panels and whatnot on? Is that how that's changed?
Just a projection.
A
from
projection
here.
moving, okay. But no big surprises there. Question about that.
Is that heating oil gallon per amount, 250 gonna really?
We haven't been able to lock in, as you can imagine, companies are unwilling to lock in right now. So we're kind of waiting it out. That was our locked-in price last year.
Right.
But
And we do accent with that, we burn waste oil for up to what, 1,500, 2,000 gallons?
2,500 gallons.
2,500 we get from the transfer station when people bring their oils in there.
Yep.
So that's what we do with that, is reuse or recycle that. So. Any more questions about that?
Solid waste. 69.
Solid waste, that number one payroll, that 6.1%. They're getting, both employees down there are seeing the same 3% or
there was
proposed raise.
there was a longevity increase for one of the employees in last year's budget that
That's
was
right.
not reflected in the budget, so.
That's right, that's why
It is-
that's increased more than the
Yeah,
3%.
it's 3% from what they are getting paid
Yep.
right now. But it shows up as 6%.
Yeah, extra and overtime, we've removed that altogether. Clothing allowance stays the same. Building supplies, we've lowered or increased slightly to reflect usage, but that has always been sufficient. Equipment maintenance repairs, that we've been able to hold the line on that, that's been sufficient.
Does that include everything in the building, including the hopper?
Maintenance repair basically that's including your their skid steer and the road tractor and trailer and whatnot. But yes, if we do repairs on a reasonable scale, it fits into there, yes.
Oh, that explains why fiscal year 24 was at the number it was. Got it. Yep,
Yes.
thank you. If I'd only looked. Yep.
Yep. Building maintenance repair, we've held the line basically on that. Telephones increased slightly or no? Oh, those are basically the same. Heating fuel, we increased because of usage or projected. Vehicle fuels,
Wow, they must be using, sorry to interrupt you, Jay, they must be using waste oil at the transfer station too?
they do not.
They're just, I mean, they're just heating
Whoa.
that small space.
Yeah,
They only use,
just heating the.
just heating the office space, yep. And that's just propane they use down there for
And they
that.
have a heat pump.
They also have a heat pump to supplement, yep.
Thank you.
Vehicle fuels, we increased because we used a lot more fuel hauling to the landfill in the past year or so than we had previous years. But we should be in very good shape, potentially, only going to Hamden now with the trash. Electricity, we've kept the same. Miscellaneous. Trying to think of what that went into. Oh, that includes the annual licenses and fees we have to pay for reporting and our compost license and storage of the materials plus other bits and bobs for that. But those fees increased slightly over the last couple of years, those licenses. Hauling, that increased, we've had the fees for the can rentals and the servicing of those cans has increased significantly. That's where that increase comes from. And as far as the hauling of the trailer, the part that the town does, that there's been no change as far as that. That's holding fast.
This would be for debris.
This, right, this covers
C&D.
the demo, the metals, the wood bin and the white goods and.
I have a question, Jay. Is the wage line in this category, which line is the hauling billed to? Is that billed to this payroll line or the other payroll line? Who hauls it?
Hauling, that's billed from Casella or Pine Tree Waste that handles all of our containers.
Unless you're talking about our hauling.
Our
Our
hauling.
hauling is highway staff.
Highway
Right,
That's
highway
what I was
staff,
wondering.
that kind of
So that's
gets
not in
washed.
this payroll number.
Right, the payroll, that's only the 2 employees that work down there. Our crew does the hauling of the trailer at the garage. Tipping fees, we've raised those due to actual volumes of tonnage. District fees also have increased. Let's see, and the monitoring wells has increased significantly. We've had to contract with another engineering firm that handles all of that, and plus the requirements have increased slightly on the amount of reporting that has to be done. So that's where that comes from.
Solid waste.
I have some questions, just because just sort of to bring us to perspective what the audit asked for as far as structural shifts. And I'm curious, Jay, the layout of the transfer station, as far as, is there any opportunity for restructuring, fewer days open, less staff, things like that, structural shifts? Because we have to make some shifts that will last in perpetuity to sort of make a shift. And I'm just curious what your thought is on staffing patterns as well as days of operation.
I think that's really gonna be the only significant savings is if you were to cut time that it's open or available.
Are there days where the volume of residents using the transfer station are less? Like, are you seeing any patterns that there's some room there to look at?
I think it's pretty heavy. The first day that it's closed, so Tuesday, Wednesday is pretty heavy when they open on Thursday. And then it's pretty heavy on the weekends. That's when we see our biggest increases in the amount that goes into the trailer.
I mean, that's gonna change based on your if you close on Thursday, for instance, Friday is gonna become one of your busiest days just because of the period of time.
Right. If you were to close an extra day or something, that first day you're open it's gonna be a heavy day. Yeah. That's how it's been historically. But you could look at options as to which days are more effective or whatnot. I mean, it's all an option.
I wonder, Town Manager, if we could ask you to do some sort of work with folks to see if there's any structural shift that we can find with the transfer station while we're sort of simultaneously exploring other options that have been presented. But it would be good to sort of know if there's any shifts we can make to the current setup that would frankly sort of offset the savings that I don't know.
Yeah, I would say that there are quite frankly many options. You've identified a few of them as far as a lot of it comes down to a reduction in service, certainly. Whether you have reduced hours, whether you reduce staffing, whether you reduce the the materials that you accept there, or the types of materials that you accept. You know, we have contractors that bring a considerable amount of stuff, whether you switch to a residential only model, you know, whether you charge more. We don't charge for tires right now, you know, I would say that there are a lot of options, but a lot of it comes back to that original question of what services are we willing to reduce in order to get to that point.
There are municipalities that charge per bag for. I mean,
Yeah, I think you could do that. There's several different areas that you could increase or change the fee schedule for different things at the transfer station. I don't see those being huge numbers to change the bottom line. It would help a little, but it's not gonna be a big number.
Does your department maintain the operation of the hopper and all that, or you have an outside contractor come in as needed?
We maintain what needs to be fixed or repaired or whatnot.
Can you or Matt offer a general analysis of, are we on our last legs? Do we have life left? Are parts unavailable? MRO costs becoming ridiculous? I mean, I'm just trying to bait the hook a little bit for the Casella presentation that was done tonight, whether
that's a real thing.
What are you waiting for? I mean, you know,
We worry all the time about the compactor side of it, the hopper, where you throw it in and it gets pushed into the trailer. It's a dinosaur. And I don't know where we would source materials that would be able to upgrade that particular, it could be a total replacement of the whole system if something catastrophic goes wrong. And I mean, we deal with things on a regular basis, fatigue of the metal and different things crack and things break, and we weld or have new little parts custom made at a place up in Brewer, and it's a constant thing to keep it going.
And just for perspective, Jay, what would that look like, approximate, if that went?
I honestly don't have a number on that because I don't even know exactly where we would source that. I think, yes, it would have to be re-engineered, and
It would likely be, that facility is built around that
yes,
machinery.
piece of machinery. And I would anticipate that anything would need to be custom made
yes.
in order to, you can't just put a normal trash compactor in there. It's gonna be something very specific and very expensive.
And we're talking $500,000.
I don't know about that much, but I would say it's hard to take a guess, but in the hundreds of thousands.
I would agree. Yep.
Or we could at that time look at swapping to compactor container.
Correct.
Dumpsters.
Right, that would be the option to pivot and do a total different model of how you collect and haul.
Much less money.
Right.
Potentially.
Right, I mean, there would be plenty of costs to get set up to do all of that with all the equipment and the cans and whatnot you'd have to do it.
But that would be the more sustainable
Yes,
of the option, and there is room up there.
there is, yes.
Kind of filled in the hopper hole, so to speak. You could, I think, almost fill two,
Mhm.
fit two,
Comeback.
compactors.
Right, the technology is there now that, like the unit that we used to put the recyclables in, you could do that in a trash, could go in the MSW could go in the same. It would be far quicker turnaround on loads, and you'd have to navigate all that and that cost, but
it's not out of the realm of possibility to speculate that you might even need increase in staff
yes.
in order to pull that off.
Yep.
I'm not saying that I'm just saying.
The
it's
potential,
something we-
because it would be a daily thing,
Right.
that something would have to be changed and hauled and moved and, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, there's no way around this budget without a reduction in services. And I would like to just sort of explore if there's any opportunities for a reduction in services in this particular budget that you just went through. Because I feel like we're at a place where we just can't afford full service, as a town. And so I think it would just be, I would like to just see if we could explore some of those options, a reduction in days, if we can combine some of the positions and still meet the needs.
And also look at retirements, you know, what might be coming for retirements and what that might pose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Just so that we know what we're dealing with, especially as we talk about all of the options. So no, I mean, solid waste budget is up 15% this year, and so, and if what we have up there now were to go, that's something, you know, if we were to commit to that, that's something, as you and I talked about earlier, we'd have to start saving money for that now. Well, that, anyway.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I would agree. I think we should know what's in front of us.
Right, I mean, we could talk about different options that way, but the trash is never gonna go away.
This is true.
Right,
That's
it's whether or not
something.
we can process it in a shorter time frame with fewer.
Right, and then we heard things from the gentleman that was here earlier, that they even have options that I didn't realize of hauling and potentially running transfer stations. Like I had not heard that information prior to this tonight, so who knows what we could find out about that.
Anything else from the council? All right, we'll talk about general assistance and then I'll open it up to the public. Thank you, Jay.
General assistance on page 72. This is a state-run program that the town is required to provide. There are guidelines that the town has to follow as far as how we administer the program and the qualification levels, the guidelines that are associated with that. We have a staff member upstairs who is responsible for administering that program, and the fees associated with that program are reimbursed 70% by the state. So on the revenue side, as we talked about, I believe last week, there is a 70% of this $6,500 as a revenue as well. So no increase here. That's been a fairly consistent amount.
Questions on it? I'll open up the floor up to the public for a conversation on, oh,
Can I say
please.
one thing first? I'm gonna read this because, well, my thoughts were all bouncing around, so I'm gonna read it because it's fairly uncomfortable, so. All right, I have spoke with many people in the community about this year's budget. The most common response is that I get is that they want us to make cuts to balance things out, but they don't want to lose services or the level of service we have. Most people I've spoke with do not want any reductions in public safety. It seems to be priority number one that we keep police and fire as it is. The suggestions I keep hearing are public works, solid waste, and the marina. A change to the marina, we know this year's budget is not feasible. The fees in the season are already upon us, we can't do that. But I do think the conversation needs to start as soon as the budget process is over, to see what the council wants to do to keep, sell, or lease the marina. For this year, the feedback I am getting about cutting the budget without losing services, the opinions all come back to public works and solid waste. I mean, I should rephrase that, all departments we're looking at, there's certain things in all departments that we can cut and trim the fat. But these are discussions about substantial savings. In my opinion, is that roadside pickup may not work. There's many variables there that there's a lot of loopholes that I don't think are gonna work, but maybe it will. But if we lose all the other services at the transfer station, I misspoke, but in my mind, we'll be losing all the other services at the transfer station with roadside to keep it affordable. If we incorporate both of them, that's way out of the realm. The figures we have show that it would cost even more money to do roadside and be able to accept demo tires, etc. One possibility that I've spoke with many people, and it's been a common theme, is for us to be able to keep our solid waste services is to go to 4-day work week for the transfer station to be open, go from 2 staff to 1 staff, and possibly pull from Public Works when needed. I am not one that's in favor of charging a per bag fee for solid waste, but we can go back to charging reasonable costs for tires, demo, debris, etc. I mean, we have some fees in there now, but they can be elevated to a more reasonable. As far as Public Works and the conversations I've had, I'm getting mixed reviews, but I keep getting people asking, why don't we go back to the work and foreman model like we used to have? But that does eliminate the director's position, and it would be a complete restructure. Both these suggestions would lead to significant decrease in the overall budget and still keep all the services and the taxpayers are accustomed to, just at a smaller scale. With the cutbacks in the other departments, we need to decide which cuts we want to make, like we've talked about the YMCA services contract and many of the other items we've discussed. But we soon need to give the town manager the direction we want these items so department heads can adjust and not scramble at the last minute. These are not easy things for me to have for options, and it's very uncomfortable. Because we're talking about really good people whose jobs could be eliminated, but this is the reality of the decisions the council needs to make. And we need to make them sooner than later so Manager Grand can come up with a round 2 of the budget. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilor Reagan. I promise I will open the floor up again to the public. But I think we're at a point where, as a council, I had a couple of things to say too, and one is, and I think it's probably why Councilor Hare is raising her hand, and I agree with Councilor Reagan, is it's time that we give the town manager some direction as to what we're gonna do with the second draft of this budget. Town manager, about a month ago, presented to us a budget with a number of options, including a flat funded budget. I said last summer we would deal in facts. The facts are, all we've done as a 7-person council is walk every one of those suggestions back up to this point. We have not provided the town manager any substantive, this is a place where we've talked a little bit about community and social agencies. And I don't mean to minimize the work that they do, but that is such a small portion of the budget that doesn't even come close to fixing anything. So, I'm pretty sure Councilor Hare is probably, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I think you were gonna perhaps to be talking some of this through while your hand was raised, but I would suggest that, if we have some direction that we would like to give the town manager, now would be the time. I know traditionally that has come later in the budget cycle, and we talked about this last summer, that's not the direction we wanna take as we move forward, that if we're going to be reducing services or increasing the budget, we were gonna talk that through as soon as possible. Anyway, Councilor Hare.
I mean, to this theme, I think some of the things that we had as options that we were talking about are they're cuts in the near term, but we really need to be thinking of structural changes or structural cuts that will last in perpetuity, right? So it doesn't help to cut things that will come back next year or the year after. And so I've been talking to other towns and doing having a lot of conversations with people. I've heard from, and people are really engaged. So I think I'm really energized by the amount of input we're getting with lots of different perspectives. I would like the council to entertain a hiring freeze, including retirements, for this budget year. Not asking people to leave mid-year or anything like that, but once positions become vacant, I would like us to have a moratorium on filling those positions until we regroup and look at budgets again and and just really examine that need again. And I would, so that's something I'd like the council to consider. And I think that's best left to sort of town staff to discern where those conversations begin and end. But I would like a moratorium on hiring, including retirement positions, not filling them in this budget cycle.
Can I add one thing, Ed? Yep. I think it would be helpful if we defined the number that we need to get to. I mean, and then we could hand it to you and say, this is the number we've got to get to, how do we get there? And it may not all be this year, but we have to make structural changes. I agree with Councilor Hare that it has to be things that don't come back next year, because otherwise we're gonna see a 10% increase in the taxes every year for the foreseeable future.
And I also think if I can add that,
No, go ahead.
And the reason that I sort of am zoning in on the not filling positions, it's an effective way towns can make budget shifts without laying people off. And I would much rather consider those routes than people losing their jobs. And so to me, it's a method that other towns have used. I don't know how it's gone, but it's a way to prevent layoffs rather than just put a moratorium on bringing on filling positions.
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
The one big problem I see with that is, for example, we've got Deputy Chief Denning retiring in December. That creates such a ripple effect in public safety for chain of command, staffing. I think the overtime there is gonna kill us. I don't think it's gonna help. I think it's gonna hurt in the public safety.
So exclude that department.
Public safety is something on their own. It's a whole different animal, not calling any of your animals, but it's something all by itself, and I don't know as I'd get on board with public safety on not filling that position.
Please.
There are examples out there. I'm not saying this is the way to go or not go. Madawaska just recently put in place a new fire chief. What they did is they brought on a person internal to the department who had paramedic skills, was exercising those, and now he carries a dual role of maintaining paramedic level activity within the department and took on the fire chief's position. There have been other smaller towns that have kind of doubled up on positions. That might be an alternate approach, to. I agree with Councilman Rankin's remarks, especially around public service and.
Same.
I'd like to just sort of hear the impact of that directly from public safety, some input on that with sort of a administrative position piece.
So I can share with you a little bit, especially our vacancy with dispatch as a prime example. We explored the possibility of not filling that and outsourcing it to the RCC, and the cost is just not, it's gonna be more than it's gonna cost us to fill that position, on top of the fact that the agency that we were looking at simply doesn't want us. So you're gonna pay more for that service going elsewhere. And
Keep talking to the county, cause that's a really odd response.
David, this is not me coming at you.
No, go ahead.
But this county has predicated its police service on the fact that Bucksport patrols the western half of the county for the better part of half a century.
Sure.
And it may be time to remind the county that that's not only entirely Bucksport's responsibility
I
either.
mean, there's a new sheriff coming this fall, that would seem an appropriate time to bring them in and at least start these conversations.
we could have the conversation, but it still doesn't change the fact that what it would cost you just for equipment to make that happen. For our radio, I mean, you're talking probably, Director Gagan, $175,000 just to make it.
And I get that, but we're just gonna have to raise the taxes then.
That's the issue.
I mean, that's what it's gonna come down to.
And
So, if I may,
Yep.
I had the conversation like you wanted. And in order to change over that dispatch budget, you are paying, and the town of Bucksport is paying more in county tax than it costs me to run your dispatch center.
I believe that.
And I talked to them to do it. They come back with the figures, and the figures were very close to what that entire dispatch budget is, just to switch it over, Mark.
I understand it.
And they don't have the people to do it, number one. They're gonna have to hire another
But we
person,
still
and
have
they
to
were
talk
very
to
clear.
them.
I did talk.
Going,
That's
no,
what
but
I'm
going
saying.
forward, there has to be more conversations because there's a new sheriff coming and maybe there'll be a different philosophy, cause
Yeah,
otherwise
okay.
we're just gonna raise the
Okay.
taxes.
I understand that. I'm a taxpayer.
Me too.
Right. What you're saying is to talk to them. I have already talked to them.
But just
no,
to
no,
hear
no,
a
no.
no is not, we're not gonna do it. That's what the county says. We'll raise your taxes, but we'll give you no further services?
If you can. They have no obligation to do it
On the dispatch side,
on the dispatch side.
that is accurate. There
They
is
have no,
obligation.
Yeah, I
no
wasn't just talking
obligation to do this
dispatch. Yeah.
Okay.
by law.
Okay.
There's no obligation.
Sorry, they already do Ellsworth's, the overnight for Ellsworth, and they don't want to.
They're looking to get rid of it.
But couldn't we push them through a number of, towns that are talking about this being a problem? Couldn't there be some conversation to, because if they just say Bucksport, we're not gonna do it. But if they're doing it for Ellsworth and they're doing it for other communities, why can't, they do count on us. We see the calls every month.
Right. I
That's
don't
not
disagree with
fair.
you.
Is that fair?
But remember, our
anything's
our
fair.
mutual aid agreement is not with the RCC or.
It's with the town. It's not with them.
It's with Verona and
The-
Orland.
It just seems like the structure's a little off, it was made around a paper mill. Because we had the services, they just count on us.
Yeah, this is not a criticism of.
No, we
This
don't
is a
take
that. No, this is
criticism.
historical.
Yeah, this is a criticism of
the
fact that.
You say to have the conversation. I had the conversation. It was brought to the commissioners, and the conversation with them lasted probably 30 seconds. And they said, okay, next item. That's how quick I watched it.
It's correct. It doesn't seem reasonable, but maybe we could get them in here as a council, and, our representative commissioner to say, why can't this be a conversation?
Have one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We could bring John in or the new sheriff in.
The other portion to remember is the ripple effect of the actual service that you lose.
We've got to find somewhere.
I don't
David.
disagree. I'm just so you know, there's a tremendous amount of things that they are not going, even if we went there,
Yeah, you're right.
they are not going to do what our
Right.
dispatch does, and it's gonna fall back. Either it's not going to get done, or you're gonna rely on your patrol staff to do more.
Hancock County is
Hang
made
on
up
just a minute,
of
Counselor.
37 municipalities.
Hold on just a second,
Yep.
Councilor Ayers.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I actually didn't have dispatch in mind. I have an honest question, Chief Yeager.
Yes.
When
no problem. I
when
didn't
you
see it.
retire,
Sorry.
do you think public safety can go back to having a chief of fire and chief of police model? And that's kind of what I was thinking in my process. And this is sort of Chief Denning's going to retire. And
Right.
is there a possibility, and this is just an exploration conversation, is there a possibility for the director to cover the fire chief position until your retirement comes, and then considering going back to a chief of police and a chief of fire model? And I'd just love some discussion around that part.
Anything is possible. As far as what DC Denning does on a daily basis, I am not qualified to do, like, he's an advanced EMT, drives needles, all that stuff. Obviously, people don't want me doing that. I'm not licensed to do that.
And this is why I want the conversation, just to
It-
understand.
There's a lot of things that he does that is a direct line as far as ambulance service goes. When they're down to 3, he covers. He's in the back of the rig a lot. I could not do some of his job. is the easiest answer.
No, I just
Yeah.
wasn't.
Cause I don't have those licenses to do that stuff.
And the reason I bring it up, Chief, is because based on the presentation that you gave us, there's no room for movement on calls to people based on call volume and things like that. And so I was sort of thinking administration. Is there
Right.
any room in administration? Not
I hear you were saying,
for
yeah.
anyone leaving early or anything like that, but can we hold a position and not fill it until another position retires and then reconsider whether or not we needed sort of that triptych model? Just a conversation was all, but I don't know.
Anything's possible, but I can't do all of its job. is the
That's
answer.
helpful.
Yeah. Cause I'm not qualified to do that.
I was only gonna say that in Hancock County, there are 37 municipalities. That includes the city of Ellsworth and 36 towns. That's what makes it up. When it comes to public safety and our ambulance, our type of ambulance that are controlled by the fire department, there are only 6 municipalities, 6 towns in all of the county that have an operation like we do. Then the remaining 4 ambulance services are all nonprofit. So out of 37 city and towns, only 10 ambulance services. So that's, now back to Councilwoman Hare's point of view. There's the other side of this, going down the path she's talking here. Granted, you do not have the license, no offense, but you do not have the licenses to be in the back of that box transporting. However, you could be a driver. You have 3, 4 fire captains that, per shift. Your job is just like up in Madawaska, they have it's a dual role. You understand budgets, you understand equipment, you understand 24-hour, 7-day-a-week coverage. You bring a lot of benefit to the package and then rely on your captains below until.
And I do that now. I drive that ambulance now, so.
To my point.
Yeah.
Okay? But I go back to what Councilman Rankin said. God, I'd rather be here, well, Ed said, or Tracy said, or.
You can just call me Ed.
But anyway, for the purpose of the recording, it's exactly right. I'm getting phone calls, I'm getting emails at home, which, how they got my number, I don't, but anyway, aside from that, it's matching up with what Councilman Rankin said, that do not touch public safety. A lot of compliments came in from last week on the presentations that you and the fire chief, deputy chief of fire, people didn't understand the numbers, the kind of things that, the 92,000 radio calls, so 2,200 calls for fire and EMS. I mean, it's.
Well, that's the thing too, Mark, with the dispatch center, we have certain systems in there through the state. And the second we don't have 24-hour dispatch, that goes away. And they're gonna charge you extra, just to run criminal background checks, they're gonna charge you extra. Just to do the SBI checks, they're gonna charge you extra. Everything we do with that computer, they're gonna charge you extra.
If you don't man it 24/7.
If you don't man it 24/7 and they're gonna do it, then they're gonna charge you
And then
extra.
you never get it back. Once it's gone, when we're in a
And
position.
they're trying to keep up with what they're doing now, and I'm not letting a cat out of a bag here, I hope, but they're looking to do away with Ellsworth dispatch, because they don't have enough people to do it. And I say enough people, they're looking to do the county, they have so many unorganized territories now that they've got enough staff to do that. They took on Ellsworth, the rates are gonna go up, and they're looking to get out of it when I proposed it to them. And they did take it to the commissioners, and you can watch it.
Okay.
It was very quick.
It's unfortunate.
And I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. It was very quick, and there was no conversation on it. I'm like, well,
I'll watch it because, I want, it,
yeah,
I'll watch it.
it was very quick.
But no, but this conversation is valuable because the issue here is to council, well, it's been said by a number of people, nobody wants to see a reduction in service in public safety, but everybody wants to see a reduction in cost. And I want to be able to say, not just to be able to say it, but to be able to show to the taxpayer at large that, hey, we did in fact talk to the county about this and this was their response, whatever, however we feel about it. And if we in fact do get them in and and can have some sort of substantive conversation, then it becomes, well, this is the reduction in service. I mean, we know what Stonington just voted to do with to reduce their service and why. Whether we agree with it or not, it is what it is. So my point, we've got to look at public safety from that perspective because it is such a large part of the budget. Now, we all were sitting here last week and listening to everything you said and know exactly, what service is being provided here. But I think at the end of the day, at the very least, we have to do our due diligence to say, if your taxes are gonna go up, here is everything we explored to avoid that. But at the end of the day, we made a decision that, the reduction in service isn't there because we've been told, we've got to consider some structural changes in how we operate the business as a whole. So anyway, I'll stop, but no, this is a good conversation.
This is in 37 years, this is, I think, my 4th time in looking at dispatch. The first 3 times, the citizens of this town come out of the woodwork.
I would love for them to come out of the woodwork. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to see, the people that were angry last summer show up here and, give some input.
I think you saw a few the other night.
Sure.
Sure.
Yep.
But
No,
it's up to them, I mean.
A couple weeks ago, when the town manager presented the 3 different scenarios at the end of his PowerPoint, the one that total combined impact without fund balance allocation and cuts, the 19.48%, that's not going away from the county. That's here. It's already set in concrete. The best we could come up with the different scenarios presented was for the municipal was 0.03% increase. And the school is still in draft, the RSU is still in draft 1. We don't have any idea, but they were starting at 8.5%. That could be as high as 11.5%, or it could go lower, we don't know yet. But using all those numbers, it could be 4.65%. Everything in. Worst case scenario can be over 12%. And understand, the state thinks we're a rich town. And although the realtors around here, I believe, think that prices on new homes went up about 6%, yet you can that one page in our budget book comes along and says that the state 18.7%, and realtors say 6%. I think
Well, they're still selling below.
Huh?
They're still selling above where the state reflects the value.
Exactly, and the year after that, they're looking at in fiscal year 2026, 12.4%, and 14.8% in fiscal year 27.
Which is gonna be.
So that means we're going to have a modifier put onto our assessed values once again.
More than likely.
It's gonna reduce.
Do we have a sense of our gap?
I don't.
400,000 to 500,000 is where we're broke, I mean, not broke, but not, that's sort of the.
What is that baseline, Jacob?
Right now, 2 kickers to that question. Right now, to get to flat, you're talking approximately $730,000. Get to flat. A big chunk of that is going back to the need to address certain deficit fund balance and the need to come into compliance with your fund balance policy. Now, within that $730,000, I think that's roughly $400,000 that you're talking about as far as addressing the 2 significant deficit special revenue accounts plus an allocation to fund balance. Now, the council retains every discretion to not address those things or to address them, phase them in over a period of 2 or 3 years as opposed to doing them all at once. That would drive the bottom line down. And so I think what's already been touched upon is, as we've discussed, where does the council want to land? Again, we're talking right now as it stands, if we fully fund those fund balance things, we're talking 730,000. But is the magical number 300,000? Is it 400,000? How? That is what drives this discussion, because I can tell you cutting $300,000 or $400,000 from this budget is not gonna be by buying less reams of paper and by buying less paper clips. It is going to be reducing services and cutting staff across the board. Across the board, it's gonna be public safety and it's gonna be all of our departments. You will not make $400,000 worth of cuts in all of our departments except public safety.
And it wouldn't, town manager, it wouldn't make sense to make all those cuts in one budget. We've gotta look at cuts as a 5-year plan. We're not gonna come out of this budget with significant cuts. You have to, most municipalities, when they're faced with what they need, what they can afford, those structural cuts tend to happen over 2, 3, 4-year budget cycles. And so
You're all set with us, sir.
none of this that I was recommending is necessary, the hiring freeze for sure, this budget, but it's not to suddenly slash Bucksport down to nothing in 1 year, but we have to be forward thinking about structural shifts that are not gonna come back to us next year and the year after. And so when I'm asking about that number, I'm not asking, it's not realistic to cut 500,000 in this year's budget. It's not realistic to cut it over a 2-year budget, but it is realistic to think of a 3 to 5 year plan, like the auditor said. And so that I just don't want people to be misunderstanding me, thinking that this is all about this budget. That just doesn't, it's not gonna work. So I just wanted to clarify that point. It's gotta be a tiered step process if we're gonna make structural shifts.
You can't do it all in one, but just like the marina, we can't discuss, I mean, we need to discuss it this year. Can't do anything about it this year.
It's gonna become, sorry to interrupt you, I just, one sentence. It's gonna be part of a strategy, otherwise you're just kicking the can down the road.
Correct. It's gonna get harder.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I still believe we've gotta do the paving. I mean, what did we figure? We're 13 or 18 miles behind? You know, on a 60 mile cycle, I just don't see how we're gonna end up in another bond if we do it again.
And well, so as much as we've asked for public input, I agree that the biggest issue for me is people are saying don't cut services. So I think that's why I struggle with, say, where do we cut? If we're not cutting services, then we don't have a whole lot of options, so.
Well, okay, as much as I again, we still have to provide some guidance, and I know we're already past minute 91, and I do want the public to have an opportunity to comment on what we've discussed this evening, including the additional piece. But and we'll be discussing community and social agency funding next week. I know there are other things that we're gonna be talking about as we move forward. If my math is correct, and that's always suspect, if an increase of $500,000 to the budget is just under 9%.
Correct.
I wrote it down on a sticky note and I don't have it, but I believe if we increase the budget by $250,000, that would be an increase of 4.5%. I'd be curious to see, Jacob, if we reduce the budget by that much with substantive changes, what that impact would be.
We're talking $500,000 worth of cuts.
Nope, excuse me, $250,000 worth of cuts.
Oh, 200 to get to
Yep.
a $500,000 increase.
That would be a
Because right now we're at
No, well, I wanna have the opportunity to talk about, I'm not hemming and hawing. I wanna have the opportunity to talk about some of the things that we have yet to talk about, including, you know, perhaps paving, what we do put toward the fund balance, et cetera. But I'm curious from the point from where we've discussed, if we reduce $250,000, what that would look like.
get you to a $500,000 increase.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Yep. Which would be about a 9% increase, including funding the things that we've talked about from a fund balance perspective.
And for clarification, Mayor, would it be structural cuts? Because I think they would have to be cuts that sort of in perpetuity
That
when
can't
on
just be-
to next
yeah.
budgets.
are we giving, I'm just hypothesizing, the council may tell me that I'm just saying.
No, we gotta
is that
set some
even-
target and say,
is
what would that
enough
look like?
guidance to?
What you're saying is $250,000 worth of cuts that are lasting.
Yep.
That are not a 1 year,
Return to us next
put
year.
the Band-Aid on, so to speak, but and so you're,
I mean,
we
if
can,
it's-
we can discuss it internally. I mean,
Okay.
that's, I guess, the best answer that I can give to you right now. My initial thought would be to phase in the fund balance restoration and do that over a 2-year period. That gives you $200,000 right there, if you do that. That doesn't touch staffing, it doesn't touch services. But if you're wanting to address the fund balance side of it and kind of clean up some of those items, then it's gonna be obviously $250,000 from somewhere else, which is gonna be either sunsetting positions, anticipated vacancies, so to speak, or it's gonna be some significant service reductions. But those are conversations that, quite frankly, we should have internally. We don't expect the council to sit up here and tell us you need to cut
Well, and that's
whatever, but-
that's the thing, I think it may be that some of you come back and say this isn't gonna work for X, Y, and Z reason, but I think just due diligence to sort of
Gets the ball
explore and
moving.
have these conversations and just see, I mean, the only way towns can address structural deficits are by approaching it this way.
At what point will we have a handle on the assessed value impact on?
Soon as I have a new assessor sitting in the chair up there, truthfully. And that's what one thing, thank you for coming back to that I wanted to just emphasize is that some sort of an adjustment is very likely necessary. The town of Bucksport hasn't seen $106 million worth of new growth in this town over, a 1-year period of time. But, there is the option of not touching property values and seeing where our certified ratio comes in. And so is that kind of kicking the can down the road? I would say yes. I would say absolutely yes, but.
Well, or what negative impact could have on the homestead exemptions.
Yeah, it would very likely go down depending upon what, but I don't know where we're gonna come in at a ratio, from a ratio perspective in order to say definitively, yes, we need to do some sort of a market adjustment, or no, we can get by for a year without touching property values until I have an assessment.
The values, we got till 70% or what, 60-70%, isn't that the threshold where?
Under 70%, you technically are supposed to have a revaluation.
So we wouldn't seem
But
to be that
there's-
close to that, are we?
I don't think so.
Would seem
I
like
would tend to guess we'd be in the 80 to 85% range.
After 1 year. I know, yep.
And like I said, that's very much a ballpark.
But it's what happens when property values double in a short span of time.
Yep.
And I don't see them going down.
Not right away. There's been so many mortgages written at this level that, no, I don't see it.
You'd be a fool not to sell it for what you can get for it.
100%.
Just
And what's the timeline on having an assessor in place?
We will have, I think, somebody in place by the beginning of April. Obviously, that person will, need to be confirmed by the town council at your first meeting in April, but I think we'll have somebody very soon.
Yeah, I would just like to see if we reduced that by $250,000, using the best guidance of you and your department heads, what would this look like based on your guidance around how we should do that? Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
We will all sit in a room this coming week and we will come up with those recommendations.
Okay.
keeping in mind that we just passed the ordinance to restock the general fund.
That's exactly right.
100%.
And on year one, what are we gonna say? Now, maybe next year.
But that's where it comes down to. There's two options. You either do it that way or you cut. And there's no great way to this.
But at least we can look at it and say, is this something we wanna do?
Yep.
Are we so comfortable with what next year looks like that we're willing to not fund get our fund balance back. You know how I feel about fund balance, so, yeah, but I just wanna see it on paper, like what would this, well, tangibly, what does this mean? If we were to reduce the budget by just, not just, but you know what I mean, 250, in this day and age, you gotta say just $250,000, yeah. We've talked enough. I see a hand in the back, Mr. Chiavelli. Now we'll open it up to everyone else.
Couple of things. I know Jacob said earlier that we're talking about other fees and stuff, and a lot of that directly talks about the dump. And so one of the things that we're looking at is cutting trips and tipping fees for demo and things like that. And one of the biggest things is stopping contractors that are bringing in trailer loads of demo from tearing down houses and stuff. We're getting peanuts from them, and it's costing us a lot. The tires, yes, we're looking at that. That'll save us trips over there, but it'll generate a little bit of money, not much. But it's the less trips we're making over to DM&J. The you know, that's money savings. The thing about the trash is, I know there's been a few citizens that have come in and pushed for the roadside, but in all my inspections, I'm out in travels and I'm meeting with all these different people. The ones I'm talking to, they don't want it. They like our situation. And one of the things that I looked at when I was looking at fees was, do we propose, as I've brought up fees to different people, and they hate the idea of buy the bag. Everybody has told me they hate it. But I was like, well, we've got to do something. So we talked about, well, what if we charged a fee for the sticker annually? You had to pay a certain amount to get your sticker each year. And I'll come right out and say, so my mother, and she said I can say this, she says, do not take away my transfer station. I'll pay $50 for a sticker if that's what it takes. Whatever I got to do. And you know, and I got thinking about, well, how much is that going to actually generate and stuff? But then when you guys were talking about the facility and the maintenance and how would we fix it, maybe we take that money and instead of putting it in the general fund, we put it in an account so that when that does fail, we've got some money set aside to try and fix it or replace it.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, that's, you know, like they said, and I hear from the public all the time, like you were saying, and they don't want to lose the transfer station. They definitely don't want public safety touched. And like you guys said, you got to cut somewhere. I mean, and you know, this is going to be so unpopular, but to a T, they say the schools.
But we don't have.
We have no,
I
no
know.
control over
I'm
that.
just telling you what they say. And I don't, you know, we made such a big deal last year about how nobody came out to vote on the budget for the schools. I bet they're going to this year. And so we should be ready for that. And that being said, I don't think a lot of the general public understands how much of that stuff is mandated, you know. So then if you tell them they've got to cut the budget, what's going to go, you know?
Well, it's mandated by state and federal.
Right, and it's unfunded.
Right.
So it's left to us. But
I tend to, with the curbside trash, and I really appreciate people bringing that up as an idea. I just can't see how it would fit for our town and all the different needs of our town's disposal needs, and especially to some of the public's point, the company that you do your options for curbside pickup aren't exactly the best either, as far as companies that, you know. So I agree with you on that. I sort of leaning to keeping the transfer station and just hoping that we can find some ways to make that a little better on the bottom line somehow, whether it be sticker fees or something like that.
Well, going to a residential use only might be an option that would, back to Luke's.
oh, and that's a conversation for Jay and Danny and Misty to tell us exactly how much that demo
is costing us and how much we can save by cutting that, but we're proposing to cut it already. I didn't propose the sticker thing because, and I'm being honest, I thought if their taxes go up this year and then we tell them they gotta pay for their trash sticker too, they're gonna be like, we're getting it on both ends, this is ridiculous. But if we've gotta start generating money for a fund to fix that compactor, then they'll just have to understand this is your $50 or whatever it is going into a fund to.
I live outside the village. The village is going to see, I think, the town manager predicted $256 a quarter for the
sewer.
Yeah.
And water's going up too.
Well, that's not
We're gonna
all.
catch up this year.
Yeah.
But people have to understand, this is where we're going because of where else are we gonna get revenues? People think the Tractor Supply is coming, Roma Joe's and all that. When you have a mill rate of 15.75, that means an evaluation of $1 million brings you tax dollars of 15,750.
Right.
That's,
Yeah.
that's where it ends up. So you need a lot of millions in revenue to, just think of it that way.
Sure, there's other people that wanna talk, but there was one other thing I wanted to, you were talking about the county tax and then raising our valuations or not raising them this year, seeing where they play out, and we've gotta be in the 90% range, right?
I would have thought, because we just redid it.
We brought them up to 100 last year.
% this year, but like I
Yeah.
said, I think a conservative guess would be 85.
I don't think that a lot of, you said there's 36 towns in this county, I don't think a lot of the small ones are doing this. They're not raising their values, so they're getting an unfair advantage because their county tax isn't going up 19% like ours.
They
Because
play the game too, and then they don't get their full credit on their homestead exemptions and other things.
Right.
But they've done the math to.
But when we were at 83%, we were still getting like 23,000 instead of 25. It was hurting us a little, but it wasn't hurting us. Wasn't like we were losing it. I think they told us if we get below 60%, then they were going to take it away completely.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like I said, that is very much an option.
Yep.
But I don't know where we're at.
Anyone else from the public? Stan.
So, I certainly appreciate the discussions that have been going on. It sounds like it's all being talked about from one side of the conversation of what can we cut to balance the budget. There hasn't been too much about what can we do for raising revenue to balance the budget. There's been a little bit here and there tonight.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure, like with public safety, is there an aspect to, instead of cutting any of those services, being able to raise additional money into this town with the services that we have? Because we do service other towns. Is there a way to pick up another community that might be hurting because the sheriff department isn't covering them well, that we can then pull in? What are we servicing, 3 right now? And
But look, what town is gonna say, okay, we'll pay you instead of getting you to come for free?
then if we're coming for free, we shouldn't be.
We
But
have to,
no,
it's mutual aid, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, no, seriously, and I'm naive in a lot of these things, but just different concepts of being able to raise money. I don't know what we have for town properties, if there's ones that we can sell.
We are looking at that.
Looking at that.
That's
Yep.
underway.
Yep, actually, we can get you a list.
Okay. Because if we're looking at 250,000 cuts, and I know that selling a property is only a single point monetary push, but that buys another year in being able to raise other things and being able to keep flat tax. I had presented an email to you concerning putting out to bid the excess capacity we have at the sewage treatment plant to haul in liquid waste from other communities or landfills. Because I know like Juniper Ridge has leachate that I think they're currently hauling to Bangor to have serviced, and it's millions of gallons. Even if you're talking penny on the gallon, it's significant resource that we have sitting available that's not being utilized. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
Just to make some suggestions, Rusty Saunders, 32 Royal Ridge Lane.
Thank you.
We do have to we have to tighten our belts. I just have a couple suggestions. It's about the sand and salt. You're saying $37 a ton for salt, $9 a yard for sand, but then you gotta truck it. Well, make it $14 a yard for your sand, right? It's still a far cry from $37 a ton.
I think it's $70 a ton.
$70 a ton, okay, I
No, I'm
misheard
just,
you. So,
it gets worse.
okay, so there's that aspect of it, and I totally agree with the catch basins and everything in town. Keep your salt in town, but maybe going back to a salt sand mixture out back. Maybe do a little research into that. There seems to be a lot of salt being put out. You know, you can watch the trucks come and go. Rule of thumb: the state tries to keep to around 300 pounds per mile. Okay, for your salt to put it out on the road. So if you have a 10-mile run, that's 3,000 pounds. You double it, there's 6,000 pounds. That's 3 ton. Okay, the trucks are probably hauling 12, 14 ton of salt, and they do that every pass out. Okay, so I don't know exactly what your mileage are, but maybe if we cut our salt back a little bit, used a little sand, it might help in the end. I'm just saying it might be worth looking into, you know, the Outback to break it up. I did 46 for a number of years. The end of the storm, when it's done, put a hot load out, maybe a load of salt, you know, a whole load of salt, break it up, slush it off, get rid of it. I understand that, but maybe the road's out back, and I'm not against having a little grit. You know, the salt goes out there, wets it up, slimes it up, it's slippery, a little sand. It's not, I mean, we went from absolutely, this is what you put on your salt sand mixture, and that's all, you know, you don't put any more salt in it, to, okay, let's do raw salt. So I'm just saying that if it's 300 pounds per mile, right, and you stop and look at your intersections in town, many of the intersections in town, there's a 50-pound bag sitting at every intersection. I don't know if there's something wrong with the trucks. You know, I don't know if they're still computerized, where they're supposed to put out a certain amount while they're traveling, shut off prior to stopping at an intersection's not working. I'm not sure about that. I'm just trying to make a suggestion. You know, there's $200,000 plus for salt. Let's cut back some salt and put a little sand with it. So, just a suggestion. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Who wants? All right. Thank you, everyone. Good discussion. I promised you last summer that we would be having conversations like this, and apparently we're having them, so. Thank you to the council too. We need to be providing this guidance, so I didn't mean to call us out, but as a group, I think
It was
up to this point, we hadn't done much. So anyway, thank you all. If there is nothing else, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.